Hi, Fred from Bosch with another Fred Talks video. In this segment, we'll discuss the Bosch line of quick fit tire pressure monitoring sensors, or TPMS. Today, I'm joined by Brian, another Bosch team member who brings a wealth of technical knowledge to the table. In this video, we'll introduce the features and benefits of the Bosch line of TPMS sensors and provide important tech tips for proper installation. Brian, I know these sensors consist of two SKUs that provide coverage for over 90% of all domestic, European, and Asian vehicles on the road in North America today. That's pretty impressive. What else can you tell me about these TPMS sensors?
Fred, this Bosch sensor program is truly universal. You don't need a variety of dedicated part numbers for specific applications. Both of these sensors that Bosch offers cover the 315 and 433 MHz frequencies. Installers really only need to select their need or preference for a rubber or a metal stem. A unique feature of the metal stem is an additional seal that is not found on competitive sensor offerings. This additional seal helps prevent intrusion of water and other corrosive elements that can harm a TPMS sensor or corrode the inside of the rim, leading to leaks and constant air pressure issues with the tire and rim.
So Brian, with that additional seal on the metal stem, is there anything else that installers need to be aware of when installing a Bosch TPMS sensor?
Fred, I'm glad you asked. Let me walk you through the proper installation for both the metal and rubber stem to ensure Bosch quality and dependability for every job. Before you start the install, you need to inspect the inside of the hole in the rim where the TPMS sensor gets installed. If there is any corrosion or foreign material present, it needs to be cleaned prior to the install to ensure a proper long-lasting seal. The first thing you have to do is attach the sensor body to the valve stem. To do this, use the square head bolt and thread it by hand, making sure the square head portion of the body aligns correctly with the groove on the TPMS body.
How tight do you have to put those three pieces together?
At this point, about 2 complete turns. The valve body and the stem need to be slightly loose. Next, I would suggest that you program the sensor to the vehicle using a Bosch TPA300 TPMS tool. Since the Bosch sensors are universal, they can be programmed to the vehicle with many of the popular programming tools that shop may have on hand today. Now that the sensor is programmed and you've cleaned the surface area around the mounting hole, the valve stem should be inserted from the inside of the rim through the mounting hole.
With the sensor and the valve inserted, it looks loose. Is there anything else that needs to be taken care of at this time?
Yes, the sensor itself needs to be held tight against the inner surface of the rim with no gap between the rim and the sensor. This next part is where installers might notice a difference between the Bosch sensor installation and others that they may have installed in the past. Using an 11mm socket and a 1/4-inch drive ratchet wrench, the cap nut should be tightened until it just starts to snug up and some tension is felt. This tension is due to the cap nut coming in contact with the additional upper seal. With the addition of the upper seal, technicians will notice a slight difference in resistance when tightening the cap nut into place. This is specifically designed to seat the seal properly and perfectly normal for the metal stem. During this time is when the body to the stem will be torqued properly. To complete the installation, you'll need to switch to a torque wrench and finish tightening the cap nut to 35 inch-pounds or 3.95 Newton-meters.
It's critical to use a torque wrench. This ensures that the assembly is connected tight enough to make a proper lasting seal and to ensure that the assembly is not over-tightened and damaged as a result. Is the installation any different between the rubber one and the metal one?
Well, Fred, you might think so, but there are several important differences in how they are installed. Let's install a rubber stem sensor now. As I'm taking the rubber stem TPMS sensor out of the box, you can see right away that there are differences between the rubber version and the metal version. For one, there are not as many individual pieces in the box. And the most obvious difference is that the valve stem and the sensor are already assembled as a unit. Since the rubber stem relies on a snug fit between the valve stem and the rim for a good seal, it is necessary to make sure the rim is clean, same as we did with the metal stem. Now, let's coat the outside of it with tire mounting lubricant to pull the valve stem all the way into the rim without the valve stem hanging up and getting damaged.
You need just enough to lubricate the surface, but make sure that you don't get any lubricant in or over the pressure sensing hole.
Here's one of the major differences between the rubber stem and the metal stem. On the rubber stem, there's no metal cap nut to draw it up tight. To install the rubber stem, you need to use a valve stem installation tool like this. With the valve stem inserted through the hole, tighten the tool onto the valve stem as far as it will go by hand. Then you place the rubber fulcrum of the installation tool on the edge of the rim, and while keeping the handle of the tool in line with the valve stem, pull down on the handle until the valve stem is inserted in the rim. An incorrect angle could cause damage to the valve stem.
How do you know when the valve stem is properly installed?
Fred, there are two things you want to check for. You want to look at the sensor and make sure that it's not touching the rim, because it needs to be free to move. The groove on the body of the valve stem should be seated in the rim, and the shoulders of the valve stem are sitting on the edge, both below and above the valve stem. Now that you have the Bosch rubber valve stem installed, it is time to use the Bosch TPA 300 programming tool to program the sensor to the vehicle. Just like with the Bosch metal stem, the rubber stem can also be programmed with a variety of programming tools in use today. Be sure to always follow the manufacturer's relearn and programming procedures to ensure proper operation.
Wow, that was great information, Brian. With the Bosch metal valve stem sensor having an additional seal to prevent moisture intrusion and corrosion, it's really important that installers know that there is a slight difference in the feel of how a Bosch TPMS sensor installs compared to other brands.
Yeah, that added seal is crucial in parts of the country where snow, salt, and water intrusion are common problems. So next time you need to replace a tire pressure sensor on your vehicle, check out the Bosch Universal TPMS Quick Fit sensors.
I'll see you next time on Fred Talks.